Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to our class. I'm Kevin Udina, the instructor, and I have my awesome buddy here, Jay Wilkins from Osage District. He's going to be our web guy working behind the scenes. I thank him for helping us out. We were at Pinewood Derby from Pine to Perfection is what we're going to do here. Everybody saw the cool flyer we made up, and this is the basic class, and we're going to be basically introducing you to Pinewood Derby and what all different things that entails. What's in the kit that you guys get from the Scout Shop. And then we'll go over the district rules so you understand why the rules are there, what they mean, and so that everybody has a fair shot and everybody has fun, basically, all the scouts do. We'll go over their car design and the weights, basically kind of the tricks of the trade, what designs work, what designs don't work, different types of weights that you could use and why you need to use them. And then we'll also go over race day. So here it is, you built your car, you put all this time and effort into it with your scout. Your scout did most of the work, and now it's race day. What do you expect? What should you bring with you? What things, just things that I wasn't told as a scout parent of things to expect, whatever. So I was just trying to help you guys out here to basically understand why we do the Pinewood Derby and how much fun it really is. So we're going to get started here. My son Colton, who is now in Troop 82, he started off as a Tiger. So we'll go over here to his first car that he did. And he thought it was going to be an awesome design about a tank. And a lot of you guys know a tank is not very aerodynamic. But, of course, that's what he wanted to build, so that's what we did. And that's the first rule there, is to make sure that you do what your scout is wanting to do and that you both get to interact and have a good time doing it. So what we started off with was basically just a basic design here. You can see there might be some chew marks all right here. That was our dog. Things happen. So, but it was still fun on race day. Different things like that. So we'll go over here, what's in the kit, okay? So here's your basic official BSA Pinewood Derby kits you can get from the Scout Shop, or some of your packs might already purchase them and you can purchase them at your meetings. You can also go online, and there's a bunch of different websites out there that you can buy different type of Pinewood Derby stuff. The biggest thing you need to remember is it has to be BSA approved, okay? So with that, we're gonna go ahead and open up our kit. So we basically don't get a lot of stuff. We get some stickers, directions, 4 wheels, and 4 nails, which we'll now refer to as our axles, okay? And we get a beautiful piece of pine wood, all right? Now, when you first look at your kit, there's a couple things you want to look at your wood at and see how it's going to work out for you with whatever design you're going to do, okay? Every piece of wood is different in there. These are going to be the ring marks, okay? That's going to give you the growth type of wood. We're going over a little bit here, but basically you see how they're just all straight in a line? That's a good piece of wood, all right? Because mainly you're going to be cutting your car on a 2D deal right here. So with that, that's going to mean that it's going to be less splintering, less problems down the road. If you did have one and it was basically opposite with the lines going this direction, okay, that might not be the best piece of wood to start off with or to do anything intricate in your designs. But still, regardless, every piece is approved and official and to the right specs. All right, you'll see there's 2 lines cut right here in your piece of wood. All right, that's your axle slots. One is approximately 3/4 of an inch in, the other one's about 1.5 inches in, okay? So when you get your car, we'll use the Tiger, no, we'll use this one as an example. All right, so the rear of your car is going to be the smaller distance, and the front of your car is going to be the larger distance, okay? So it's going to line up basically like that. So right off the bat, you know that that's how your car is going to be designed. So going here to kind of one of our test cars, we put the fancy arrow on there so you can kind of see that. And this is one of the test cars we use in our tracks just to make sure the track works good. So in your kit, basically the concept is for you to cut or contour or shave this down into whatever design you're wanting. And then you're going to take these nails and put them in the axles like that and bang them down in there and put your wheel on there, okay? Real quick tip, when you first get started, the first thing you want to do is these are just like any other nail. They have a pointy edge in there, okay? And not necessarily for safety, but when you try and force it down into this slot, the first thing that's going to happen is this thing is going to break off right here in that slot. So what you want to do is you want to get a hammer and turn it upside down and just blunt this end a little bit. All right, that's the first quick tip right there. And what that's going to do is not allow it to splinter as bad. With our advanced class that's coming up at 2 o'clock, we will go over a lot more advanced techniques and different things to do to get these axle slots perfect, okay? But this, again, is a basic class, so we're just going over the basic stuff to keep you from breaking your car before race day, all right? So, another thing with the wheels, and we'll go over this in the rules, is that they'll say BSA Pinewood Derby with a registered trademark. There's all kind of detailing in there, and there's a small beading around the tread, okay? That's very important, and we'll get to that when we start reading about the rules. So again, we'll go back to the Tiger car, and our design of this was a tank. Again, I know it doesn't sound very aerodynamic, but that's what we wanted to build, and so that's what we did. So this is what we used here. We shaved this out for the different types of weight, and everything is going to be weighed on a scale, okay? So the scale is different. It could be a digital scale, it could be a dialed scale, whatever it is. Just remember that the scale that you may have at home in your kitchen or wherever you're using it at is not the scale they'll use at the check-in point. And so the issue with what I'm saying is if you have one that's meant to measure, I would say different types of meat or whatever it is, it might just be a peg scale, okay? With that, you're not going to get an accurate measurement. So just remember that you want to use a digital scale if you can, or to borrow one from your pack. Some packs may have, getting closer to race day, is they may have, when you go to a meeting, they might have the official scale there. That way you can utilize it throughout your build, okay? So going with that, we can just weigh this car out, and we see that it's right at 4.5. So when we go over the rules here, you know what we're supposed to be, all right? So your kit needs to consist of just the basics, which is you want to measure everything now. So you have to measure all the wheels, and don't forget about the axles, all right? And that gets us to about 3/8. So we can go up to 5, and there's a reason that you want to get up to 5 as much as you can, and that's going to be to get a better speed for race day. All right, so like I said, we're going to go over the district rules. Again, the district rules are for the district, and then you also have pack rules. So every pack is different. Our pack, particularly, they adopt the district rules, and they have one extra thing they add in there, and we'll go over that. So we'll just go here and read them, and I'll kind of explain to you what that means, because when I first got these rules, I didn't know what that meant. And see, it says the car must be newly built by the current Cub Scouting year. So each of these cars that my son's built has the year or stamp or a picture was taken of the car, so it's not allowed to be raced in that pack by another scout or by the same scout again. All right. So it must be, the car should be substantially built by the scout, which means majority of these were. Obviously using power tools or something large or whatever, an adult is going to have to take care of that. But for the most part, it's the scout that needs to build the car. It says, note, only official BSA licensed kits will be allowed. No unofficial Pine kits, axles, or wheels allowed. What that means is like I said, you can go online and you can buy precision wheels, pre-ground down axles or whatever, and that's all fine as long as they meet the BSA requirements for that. And a lot of those websites will say in their description, this is BSA approved, okay? So it says the wheels may not be altered in any way, except the mold projection defects on the wheel treads may be removed by sanding lightly. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Okay, so what that means is, like I said before, around this wheel, there's a bunch of little beads, okay? It also says Pinewood Derby BSA registered there, along with a bunch of strikes in the middle here, okay? You guys can kind of see that in there, all right? So what that means is that none of that can be removed. A lot of people will try and shave this wheel down to reduce the weight of it, and that's not going to fly when you go through check-in or whatever. So, but what it does say is that you can shave down all the defects. So all these are injection molded. Basically means they take a big press, put a bunch of plastic through it, and out pops the wheel. So to the naked eye, you might not be able to actually see the imperfections, but there's imperfections in every wheel. So when you go through my advanced class, I'll show you how to take all those imperfections out of the wheel. But for the most part, you would just get some sandpaper light and lightly just take off all the burrs that you might feel on this plastic, making sure that you keep all that detail work that's there in order to pass race day, okay? It says you may not paint the bottom of your car or otherwise cover the car underside of it. So a good thing is that we painted this car all the way around, but the bottom is kept open. There's a couple of reasons for that. All right, one, if you make any special modifications or whatever to the bottom, the inspectors need to see that, okay? It does say if you do wish to paint them, you use like a clear coat or a nail polish on there. Another reason you would do that is if you're building this in your garage, or if where you're going to keep it might be in temperature changes. Wood does expand and contract. So sealing it up in all form or fashion will make for a more consistent car, and things won't fall off or break because of it. So that's one of the reasons there that says that. Loose pieces that fall off during the race are not permitted. Well, obviously loose pieces are not permitted. What they're getting at is a lot of scouts like to jazz up their car a bit, okay? What they want to do is they want to stack a bunch of Legos on top, a couple of people on there. That's perfectly fine. Just super glue them on. That way they don't break off during race day and possibly injure another car that doesn't have that in there, and then now you have kind of a deal going on, okay? So it says the front of the car is designed, if the front of the car is designed to gain an unfair advantage at the start or interferes with a fair start, the car will be disqualified, okay? Here's a very good example of that. So when you have your track and you set your car on top of the track, and at race day, there's going to be a peg or some type of piece of material that's going to hold that car ready before they actually start the race. And then when they flip the switch or throw the lever or whatever happens, that lever is going to go down and the car is going to be able to go gravity and race. So what they're saying is that you don't want the way you design the front of your car to not gain an unfair advantage, which means if that peg was over here, this car has about an inch ahead before the other cars, so that'd be an unfair advantage. So you just want to make sure that if you do some type of design like this, that it's very pronounced in the front to where the center of the car would stop at the peg before it starts. Another tip on that. Once it comes down, there's usually a laser beam right there at the finish line that once that beam is cut, it stops the clock from running. That gets you your time, okay? If you make this all intricate and, you know, real cool looking, that's great. But if that laser beam is not perfectly centered over the track, it's possible that it won't stop till it gets to here, which is not giving you the accurate account of time. So don't think that this design, as awesome as it looks to some people, as some scouts think it's really cool, this was actually one of our worst cars because of things like that we didn't include. It wasn't that it was disqualified in any way. It's a perfectly legal car. It's just different things like that didn't give us the best results that we thought we were going to get, okay? So, right here, the total weight of the car may not exceed 5 ounces. That's just to keep everybody legal. That's just how it is. With the aerodynamics of a track, it's going to start off approximately 4 foot high, and you're going to go down to ground level, okay? With that, you're going to get your propulsion. You're going to get your speed. Everything's going to gain that way. So with your weights in your cars, some people put the weight in the front, some people put the weight in the back, some people put the weight in the middle, okay? Again, in the advanced class, we'll go over the proper way to place your weights, which is actually in the rear of the car. And we'll talk about center of gravity in the advanced class, okay? So when you put your weights in there, there's a bunch of different types of weights you can buy. And again, with the beginner class, if you're just trying to build a car, have fun, not concerned too much about winning or anything like that, you just want to have a good time, nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic, okay? There's basically 3 types of weights that you'll find at your scout shop. You'll have zinc, lead, and tungsten, okay? So each of them weighs different for the increment that they are. For instance, This is a tungsten weight. It's very, very small cube, okay? But tungsten weighs a lot heavier than, let's say, lead or zinc. So it sounds silly, but this little tiny square right here weighs approximately the same as this big piece of weight right here. So when you start shaving your car and you're making it look real small like that, as you can see right here with some glue, there's these small square tungsten weights right in this part here. Versus something large that has a bunch of these weights built into the car, actually, okay? So as you advance and you get to where you really want a more precision car, you're definitely going to want to go with tungsten because it's smaller and it weighs more, but it does cost more, okay? So that's just basically your basic weights. A lot of the Scout Shop has preformed weights like this. So you'll see the increments in here. I mean, you can use a hacksaw and cut them. The best way to put in a weight is you would just drill a hole and slide it in there and then glue it in there and that'd be fine. Remember though, when you're weighing your car and you weigh all of this right here and you put it on there, put your weight on there too and you'll see where your total weight is at, okay? Don't forget about paint. It does add a little bit, not a lot, but it does add a little bit. And then any type of glue that you use. So if you're using super glue, that doesn't weigh that very much. But if you drill a bigger hole and you put in a weight and you want to epoxy it in there with some epoxy at the hardware store or whatever, the epoxy has a good amount of weight into it as well. The problem with that is that now you have a car that's maybe over your 5-ounce weight that won't pass the inspection process. Now what do you do, right? You basically have to start shaving weight. And the thing here, the less amount of weight that you take off is going to be wood. So it's going to require a lot of wood to be taken out of there versus just getting the proper weight placement to start with. For example, here's one of our cars who actually got us first place in the districts and first place in the pack. And it weighs approximately 5.001 ounce. Okay, so it's as high as it can get. All the weights in the back, has a very aerodynamic design. But again, out of everything I know, I did not include the glue to hold the weights in there. And we were overweight. Not by a lot, by 0.01, which is not a lot of weight. But if you look real closely in the side of this car, all this is hollowed out. The wood is all hollowed out to get 1.1 ounce of weight back to us. So it was a very scary process, but it ended up being a great car. But there's different things like that. And you're like, well, I don't know how to weigh glue. I understand that. When it comes to race day, the best thing for you to do if you're in the beginner portion of this is to get what they call tungsten putty. So it's basically like Play-Doh or putty. It's a weight and you can just stick it onto your car. It's very adhesive. It can stick on there. So if you're underweight and now you can add more weight, hopefully before race day, then you can just stick it on there, or you can get different types of weights that break off. They're in like a sheet, and you can screw them right into your car underneath the bottom of it, okay? There's a lot of different tips and tricks out there for you. My biggest help was obviously YouTube. I didn't know a lot about this stuff, so I sat there, and me and my son, we watched all these different videos and took a little bit out of each one. So the main thing we're going to go over here, and the next thing is it says, so if you do have any lead, which they don't really produce lead weights anymore from the Scout Shop. They're either going to be zinc or tungsten for the most part. Some are still lead. You just want to make sure if you do see them and they're not enclosed in the car, that they're painted with some type of clear epoxy on them, okay? All right, let's keep on going. So it gives you the specifications of the track. That's just kind of for your understanding there. So basically, you don't want to have anything protrude out of the bottom of your track. Okay, because I actually have over here one of our track pieces, and you can see there's a raised portion in the center that keeps everybody in the same line, okay? So with that, you don't want to have nothing coming down from your car, okay? Yeah. So you see this is like the raised portion right here, which is going to allow the car to ride in the center there, and it won't go on the other track. Okay, so that's basically what that means. The one thing I was telling you that our district doesn't have a rule on it, but our pack does. And this box is a box that I made, which basically goes over the proper length and height and requirements. And you might want to build something like this for your pack to just make race day go by a lot quicker. So as your scout comes in, they present them the car, they do a visual inspection of it. Okay, all the wheels have the official logos, they all have the beading. I can see everything on the bottom. The bottom is not painted. I can see the axles in the slots provided. It does say in the rules, if for some reason that splits and you have to cut in a new axle, there's a certain distance that you have to be from the original. And that's all explained in there pretty easily there. All right. Now, to know that I didn't add any wood onto this or anything to make it longer or to make it wider, to give it a better wheelbase, more stability, which has been done. It just fits right there in that box. And it's official. All right. Another thing here, actually, I'll show you, I put it in there the wrong way. That's why it didn't fit. If you look, these lines right here, the red lines indicate where the axles cannot go past. The black lines indicate the original pieces cut here. So as long as your wheels and your axle bases aren't past those points, it's a legal car. Another thing is this little bar ledge right here. So the reason why our pack has that height requirement is because of the electronics on the track. There's a certain height where they have to go under that. So like I said, a lot of scouts want to add all kinds of stuff onto these cars, and they want to stack Legos on top and put guys up there like they're racing, and that's great. They just have a height requirement for that. So check your pack rules. They might have something like that too. So when you come race day, you're not disassembling the whole entire car. So what's going to happen on race day? That's basically one of our last things we're going to talk about here in the beginner class, is that now you've spent all this time on this car, you've painted it, no wheels have fallen off, everything's good. Now it's race day. So you and your scout show up. My suggestion is show up right when they open up, because you don't know what's going to happen and you might have to make modifications to your car. Don't show up at the last minute. They'll take your car, they'll do the visual inspection, they'll weigh your car, so they'll take out their scale. We'll wait for ours to turn on here. All right, they'll weigh your scale. If you're overweight, they're going to give it back to you and you're going to say you have an hour before we close the pit that you have time to modify your car. Holy moly. We waited at home. We waited 10 times. We even waited on this scale. It doesn't matter. Race day is race day. That scale that they're using is the official scale. That's the end of it. What are you going to do now? Well, as a dad, the first time, I didn't bring nothing with me. But then I saw another scout parent over there that's been through this a couple times. He had a whole toolbox worth of stuff. And I'm so glad they did. And a lot of people, the whole thing is about helping out everybody else. And what was in there was basically a drill. And what we did was we took this car and we just kept on drilling holes and drilling holes and drilling holes till the weight got down and it passed. And even though it might look like Swiss cheese in here, it was race day and the scouts still got to race all the races and have a great time. Did we win? No. We took third place Tigers, probably the lowest place you could take. But we still had a fun time and we were still allowed to race, okay? Another thing that might happen is now this car passes inspection, everything's great. They're going to then impound the car. They're going to take the car from you, and it is now a race official is going to take the car and put it over into the pit. No scout, no one's allowed to touch those cars at all until the race is completed for the whole day. Then your scout will be asked to come up when they're up on the screen or whatever they got for, saying who's up there. And then they're going to go ahead and they're going to be allowed to pick up their car and place it up onto the top of the track and set it up, okay? So you might want to go over this with them a couple times at home to make sure they know what they're doing right, which means they're going to line their car up down the track, make sure it's straight, make sure the wheels are kind of pulled out, get it all ready, let it go. Then they'll step back and they'll go sit down and get ready to watch the race. Then a race official will actually start the race and the cars will go down the track. What's going to happen, because it happens to everybody out there one time or another, is they did everything they could to build their car. It's all glued together. It's all sanded. It's all painted. It looks great. The car next to you has 4 or 5 Lego people on it, and it's going down the track, and it's wobbling like this, and those people come off on there, and it basically has a crash, and now your car is busted. A wheel came off, an axle broke, something happened. Sometimes you can fix those repairs, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's catastrophic, and it is what it is. And scouts just have to learn that that's how things happen. But as a parent, you want to be prepared, right? So you want to make sure you have extra nails, maybe extra wheels. One could get broken, one could get bent, things can happen. The biggest thing that's going to probably happen is that you're going to have to re-hammer in one of these nails into a new axle slot, because this piece right here broke off, and now the wheel won't even fit on there, and you have 5 minutes to do that. So my best thing to tell you is when you buy a kit, buy 2. That means you might not use a block of wood, but you'll have 4 extra wheels and you have 4 extra nails. That way you can still kind of get through something. Also, it's real cheap, is to go out and buy a hacksaw, or they call it, not a hacksaw. So these are about maybe 10, 15 bucks at Lowe's. All right. And it's just a very small saw blade with a big square deal here. And what that's going to allow you to do is allow you to basically make a pretty straight cut, to cut in a new axle and put in those new wheels. Okay. So not everybody has one of these. I understand that. But different things to bring in your kit would just be a couple of nails, a drill to take out some weight, maybe some more weight out there, that tungsten putty, or a saw of some sort to just cut in a new slot. Other than that, on basic day, that's about all you got. A lot of people use graphite, okay? Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Right. There's all kinds of different graphite out there. You can buy it from anywhere, okay? Basically what graphite is just a very fine powder that's a lubricant, okay? It's not a wet lubricant or anything like that. So you're going to want to put that in your axles and in your wheels and squirt as much as you can in front of and behind it, and then give that wheel a spin a little bit. And what that's doing is just basically lubricating the inside of that, okay? So that's pretty much it for the basic class. Jay, is there anything you think we missed?
Nothing I can think of.
All right. Well, guys, I hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, I learned majority of this stuff off of YouTube, just like everybody else. But understanding the district rules and different things, the way it's worded, didn't really make any sense to me, especially like the unfair advantage or why the axles had to be placed a certain distance. Okay. So we're going to get ready here for our advanced class coming up, and we'll go over a lot more intricate things to basically go from having fun to going fast.